My dear friends, when this pandemic started, I told myself I'm not going to allow this COVID-19 virus to get to me. So I adhered to all the SOPs. I seldom went out of the house. Even if I did, it was mostly for groceries, and I followed all the SOPs: masking, sanitizing, social distancing. And even for myself and my family, I ensured that we exercised, we eat only home cooked meals. As for myself, I do not have any comorbidities and I'm not on any medication. But then, my friends, this virus is looking for a human habitat. So somehow it found a loophole to get to me, and I was infected last month and became COVID positive. Don't ask me when or where I contracted it from. I really do not know. I can speculate a lot, but then really there's no more contact tracing. My dear friends, at this point of time, for more than 4% of our population in Malaysia have been infected with this virus, and there are more than 11,000 people who have lost their lives. There are others who are living in fear of getting infected, and there are also those who are already having symptoms of COVID-19 but do not know what to do and are getting depressed. This is not a video to advise anyone, because there are 4 stages to this virus and different people may experience it in a different way. I'm just going to relate to you and share with you the symptoms and the sequence of events that took place before I got diagnosed as positive. So on the 4th of July, I woke up with a very slight fever and I passed it off exhaustion because the whole week I've been physically active and probably overworking my muscles, and I thought I was tired and I was having body pain as well. But I went on my normal chores of cooking for the family, cleaning, gardening, and looking after my pets. That night my fever went up even higher, and the fever was coming up and then breaking off in the morning. So the next morning was the same thing, but this time my throat was getting very dry. So I made myself a decoction of ginger, lemon and honey, and kept sipping it throughout the day. So when the fever came up, I was using cold towels to bring it down. So the next morning was my appointment for my first dose of vaccination. You see, friends, I registered in my Sejatra on the 2nd of March for the vaccination. I'm 63 years old. I only got my appointment date on the 6th of July, and that too I know I couldn't make it because of the fever. So on the 5th itself, I postponed my appointment, and they too replied that they will give me another appointment. So the next day, the fever was still there, and my mom, who lives with me, she and my husband insisted that I should go and see a doctor, and the best place to go is the clinic Kesihatan. So he drove me there, and the doctor, after all the normal screening, he told me that you may be having dengue because it's the dengue season now. So let's do a blood test. And when we did a blood test, my platelets were slightly low, and he said, okay, you come back, I'll give you paracetamol, you take it to bring down your fever and drink lots of water, come back next morning and do another blood test. So it was the same thing on the 6th night. My fever was there. I did take ice. I never take pharmaceutical medicine, but that night I took 500 mg of Panadol, and around 4 o'clock the fever broke. So the next morning when I went back to the clinic, it was a different MO this time, and after the blood test, she said that, oh, you're not having dengue, it could be any viral fever. You continue with all this medication, with all this paracetamol, and drink lots of water. Within 4 or 5 days, viral fever normally will come down, and if it doesn't, then you come back. Actually, at that point of time, I was so delighted that I was not having dengue. So that was on the 7th of July. But unfortunately, that evening, my husband also started showing symptoms. He started having very bad cough, and he was also complaining of fever as well. My mom, who is 81, but she's fully vaccinated, was okay. So we all stayed isolated in our own corners in the house. On the 5th day, I started coughing, and when I coughed, the left side of my lung, it felt like there was a bruise-like pain. Most of the time from then on, I just wanted to curl up and sleep, tired most of the time. There were many text messages and phone calls coming in from my friends, but I couldn't look at the phone. My head was heavy and my eyes were so hot. I used to cut cucumber slices and put it on my eyes to cool it down. Also, on the 5th night, I had severe stomach pain, something like gastric pain during my younger days. On the 6th day, my temperature went up beyond 38 degrees and my oximeter was yo-yoing from 88, 89, 90, and then was coming back up and down. But I was not having breathing difficulties, but I just couldn't do the deep breathing that I used to do during my yoga sessions. The nights were the worst because I used to get delirious and I used to feel like I'm floating, and whenever the fever broke, my whole bed clothes and bed linen used to get drenched, and I had to keep changing them several times. My instincts knew that it was not a normal viral fever, but then I trusted my immune system and allowed it to do its work. It was raging a war against an unknown enemy, and I helped it along by taking several showers a day to keep my body cool. I also did steam inhalation. I drank lots of hot water, and I kept sipping at my lemon and ginger decoction throughout the day. I also ate food that is very light, like soups and porridge, which we got delivered from the restaurant. Both of us also ate lots of papayas and oranges. The nights when the oximeter used to go down to 88, I used to think whether I would go off in my sleep. So those were the times when I used to chant my favorite mantras to keep me distracted from all these kind of thoughts. So on the 7th day, still having fever, joint pain, I also started having phlegm, and I knew phlegm is good because these are all dead cells that are trying to come out. This went on the 8th day, it was the same. It was, cough was bad, the phlegm, there was more phlegm, and on the 9th day, I decided to go back to Clinic Kesihatan, as the doctor said that if the fever doesn't go off, to come back. And for the 3rd time, this doctor also said the same thing. It's a viral fever. He didn't even hint at asking me to go and do a check for COVID. He just said maybe you should do a general health check. Tomorrow morning, come and give your blood to check for cholesterol and sugar. So it was only on the 10th day that I decided to go to Mawa Hospital for a second opinion, and immediately the doctor said that these are all signs and symptoms of COVID-19, and you are having fever for 10 days. Tomorrow morning, come in for a PCR test. So the next morning, that is now the 11th day, still having a little bit of fever, a lot of phlegm and coughing and throat pain. I went in for the PCR test together with my husband, and on the 12th day, the results came out as both of us being positive. The Mawa Hospital told us that they will inform KKM and told us to wait for a call that never came. Only My Sejahtera turned red, and in that they told us to be home quarantined. So we didn't have a pink band, but we were disciplined enough to be quarantined at home. So since there was no information, nothing coming from KKM, I decided to draw my own recovery plan, which I share with you in the next video. My friends, I just want to add that don't do what I did. If you have any symptoms, whichever comes first, fever, sore throat, or an unusual kind of headache, please get it tested. Nowadays, there's a test kit you can test at home. It only costs less than 30 ringgit. If it shows 2 red lines, please go in for a PCR test immediately so that you can take immediate action.